Episode 298. I'm here with Adam Hatch. How you doing, my man?
How you doing, Eddie? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming, man. I saw a couple of articles about what you were doing, and I thought I'm going to reach out and see if I can share that story. So
Cool. Thank you.
yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming. So let's start with obviously, we're in Taiwan, so let's start with what brought you here at the very beginning.
Yeah, I in 2010 I graduated, or 2009 I graduated from university, and I had a job offer. A friend of a friend owned a school here. And he invited me out, and I thought I'll go for a year or two, maybe learn some Chinese, see what it's like living overseas. And obviously, everybody has a story out here. Oh yeah, let's stick around. And so, it took, and I taught for a few years, got out of education for a little while, and then, in 2018, my brother and I opened a school, and that's sort of what I'm doing now.
Okay. And that was it was English, or what was it? There was one step in between there, right?
Yeah. So I, when I was teaching before, after I got out of working at the school that I worked at prior, I was still doing sort of freelance teaching on the weekends, Saturday afternoons, like junior high and high school kids come over to my house.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Writing articles for what became Taipei Teen Tribune.
Yes.
And that was fairly successful. And so I decided that it was time to develop that into a full-time program, and that became English, which is the school that I operate now.
Okay. So quickly about the Teen Tribune. So tell me a little bit more about that, because I think that the way the English is taught here is a little bit different. I mean, it's not great usually, right?
Yeah.
But so you tell me about what sparked the idea to be like, I like this Taipei Teen. Let's get this up.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a gap between sort of what students need if they say they want to go to university in the U.S. or Canada or wherever else, and they don't really use English practically. There's the vocab and the workbook situation, and kind of the drill and kill is what they call it in education.
Okay.
And one thing at the school that I had started working at is they didn't have a writing curriculum when I started there.
Okay.
And so I sort of developed that from like how I learned how to write. And so I took that sort of with me as I went on, and it was like, hey, let's write about stuff that you guys care about, that is interesting to you.
Yeah.
You're using English in sort of a practical and applicable way that they actually care about, and that really helped them develop a lot more organically and authentically, I think, than a lot of students who do the more traditional style education.
How key do you think it is for students to write about something that they actually like?
It's critical. Like, nobody wants to spend a whole lot of time doing busy work. And if you're writing about something that you don't care about, it's just busy work, right?
Yeah,
you might as well be filing your taxes or whatever.
Yep. Okay.
And so, knowing how to do that is important, but if you really want to drive it and sustain it over time, you got to make sure that students care a little bit.
Okay. So you were doing the Taipei Teen Tribune, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was going well.
Mm-hmm.
And you thought, okay, I'm going to take the step, and I'm going to get like a location, a brick and mortar spot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me about that process.
Yeah.
Man.
So we started really doing that in 2017, early 2018, and I basically dropped all my savings into it, and a couple other people, contributed. And my brother and I were the first teachers, and we had just a tiny little office with two tiny little classrooms in Da'an district.
Okay.
And after about a year or so, we moved into a larger space. And then just in 2023, we moved from Heping, Fuxing over to Shini Anhe. And so now we have, it's a bigger, not huge, but we have a pretty nice office over right outside of the Shini Anhe MRT station, and that's where we're at now.
So moving on up, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Good.
Yeah,
step by step,
yeah.
right? What made you choose that location? Is it because you guys live there? You think that's a busy spot?
Partially. When I first started, the school that I worked at was also in Da'an district, and it's a pretty there's a lot, just on our block alone, there's like there's got to be 24 schools just
Okay.
in that neighborhood. It's
Gotcha.
right by Renai Elementary.
Okay.
And so there are a lot of students and a lot of families, and so it's just really kind of robust for people who are looking for, especially the type of school that we operate. It fits in there really well.
Okay. Okay. Tell me a little bit about your education, your teaching, because that was going through that earlier. I don't want to skip over that before we dive into the English, man. Yeah.
Sure. I grew up in Northern California in Sacramento. I went to UC. I graduated University at UC Berkeley, and right after I graduated, I came to Taipei.
Okay.
And then after a few years of teaching, I decided that maybe I wanted to do something else, and so I ended up going to Jenda, NCCU.
Gotcha.
And I got a master's there. They're international masters in Asia Pacific Studies. It's called IMAS.
Okay.
It was a good program. I thought that maybe I'd want to get into, perhaps apply to the State Department or something like that.
Okay. Okay.
And so, in that time when I was a student there, I got a job working in marketing for a little while, and then my Saturday program started to develop and ended up being the way that I went. But then in 2021, I looked into, because I was in education and this is my career, and so I decided it was probably time that I had a lot of opinions and I had a lot of ideas, and it's like, I think education should be like this. And so it's like, well, do I really know what I'm talking about? And so I went and I applied to CSU Fullerton, which is a university in Southern California, outside LA. And they had it's called a Master's of Science in transformative education for secondary school students, so high school students, junior high, stuff like that.
Okay.
And so, and that was really heavily research based. It was pretty rigorous. I was lucky enough to be able to do it online. This was after COVID, and so they had really transitioned to being able to do online stuff pretty well.
Okay.
And so I finished my master's at the last year, after the summer last year, and so yeah, I have 2 master's degrees. I'm like that guy on Arrested Development, who's like just has a bunch of master's degrees and whatever.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So a master's from here and then a master's from the States,
Yep.
right? Yep. So maybe tell me a little bit about, before we go deep, a little bit about the differences from doing your master's in the States as opposed to here, or your degree or whatever from there to here, school wise.
Well, so both of the programs have their their benefits and things that I think you could critique a little bit. I think that the program that I did at Jenda was essentially all English.
Okay.
And so some of the professors had better English than other professors, and some were pretty clearly doing it as sort of like hey, I get an extra bonus, and so I'll show up and kind of go through the motions, and we'll call it a class, right?
Gotcha.
However, there were a lot of really good professors who were really, my advisor at Jenda, she got her PhD from the London School of Economics, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so she was a real hard-hitting academic and really bright and really helpful and supportive. And so, I learned a lot, and it was really kind of interesting. And that's, even though I'm not in that field, I still think it was, worthwhile to really kind of elevate, kind of what I know about Taiwan and East Asia and stuff like that. So, I enjoyed that. But at CSU Fullerton, in this program, my advisors, Chris Street and Allison Dover are their names. And they're some of the, brightest people I've ever met, and just really helpful and really supportive. And they work really, really hard. And pretty much all of the classes that I took through CSU Fullerton taught me a lot. So I felt like my school and my program and my direction was strong, before I ever went back to grad school. But I think that going to doing a more advanced degree really sort of helped give me the vocabulary to approach some of this stuff in a more professional way, in a way that's going to be a little bit more effective. And so it was, I thought it was a really positive experience. Nice,
man. That's beautiful. And then so you started English, right, with your brother?
Yeah, 2018.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, so, we, we started in a small office, and it was, all of a sudden, we have to, pay taxes, and we have no overhead and all this stuff, and it's and so, it was hard, starting a business.
Business is hard.
As is a difficult thing to do. So it was a struggle for the first few years especially. We got really lucky. My wife, who has a publishing and media background,
Okay.
she joined us in 2019, and she really helped us kind of elevate some things. And then we've been really lucky to hire really, really strong staff who've really just, I couldn't be happier with our team.
Okay.
And so obviously with that type of thing, it gets easier and easier. And the program just gets better and better. Having smart people in the room really, adds to it.
And so what's like the vision? Like what's the plan for Englist?
So, I think that a lot of people who operate like Bushiban after-school programs in Taiwan, the traditional path has been like, okay, well, let's open a bunch of branches and try and franchise and do whatever else.
Yeah.
And I have no interest in that.
Perfect. Okay.
I really like education. And what I would like to do, like I said, my wife has a publishing background.
Cool. Yeah.
And I have some background in writing myself, and so. What we want to do is educational content, and we want to use our school as kind of a laboratory for developing that content.
Yeah.
And so that's really kind of where we're pointed now. I mean, as much as I like teaching and being in the classroom and interacting with students, I don't think I'll ever not do that.
Yeah.
But I think that, if we're looking at sort of our future, we want it to be in more the, developing curriculum, consulting for other schools, working with educators, training teachers, things like that.
Okay. And so, like, what's kind of like the target market? Like, what's your students? Like, what kind of students are you getting in there? Like, you were saying high school, junior high?
Yeah, so we have our program. We have elementary school level program, the Bushiban, after school. And so we have some kids as young as, first grade.
Oh, wow.
Who are there.
Okay.
Not very many. For our elementary program, we start to get students really in third grade.
Okay.
When parents start to, they consider what's kind of the path that I want to put my kid on. And so a lot of people come to us with the intention that they're going to send their kids to school overseas.
Gotcha.
And so we have about, I'd say, 60% of our students actually go to a private school or a bilingual school, not a traditional public school.
Mm-hmm.
And so, especially, we have a few TAS kids, but we have TAS, Kangchao, Kuishan, Wega.
Okay.
Those schools. We have Fuxing. Actually, probably are the one that we have the most from.
Okay.
And because it's pretty. What happens with a lot of, especially like from the elementary to junior high transition, is kids will go through elementary school here in Taipei, and they'll do public school, and they'll speak Chinese, and they'll get used to school a different way.
Yes.
And then mom and dad will sort of be like, hey, I want you to go to college in the States. Now all of your school is going to be in English all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different kind of system and whatever else. We're going to throw you into it.
Okay.
And so kids are sort of, it can be a shock to them.
Sure, of course.
And so we get a lot of students who I think people come to us all the time and they're like, my kids don't know how to write. They don't know how to do it. And it's nothing to do with the teachers at those schools.
Yeah, I understand.
Those teachers are really good. I mean, my brother works at Fuxing now.
Okay.
And works really hard, and they're good teachers. But, they have classes of 20 up to 30 kids sometimes.
Sure.
And they can't, get quite as in depth. And so we have, in my classes, we have, between like 5 and 10 students.
That's amazing.
And we, they have to write an essay a week, and we dive into it, and we tear it apart, and we really kind of, figure out what's going on and like why they're writing about what they're writing. And so we offer a lot of support, I think, for kids who are in that environment. And then even for kids who do go to the public schools here, it gives them options. It gives them a different dimension of English learning. I think something a little bit more, like I said, authentic and a little bit more advanced than I think they're going to get at most other places.
Okay, yeah, I think so my daughter goes to public school. And yeah, we're kind of looking at different ideas right now, because she actually, like, her English is like native speaker, right? And so, but the English that is taught in like the public school, even like she'll show me some of her like tests and stuff like that, and it'll ask a question and it'll give kind of 4 options, and 3 of them actually could be correct.
Sure.
Right.
Right.
So if you don't pick the one that they think is correct, You know, like, so she gets like in the 90s in English, and people are like, "Oh, how come you're not getting 100?" And she's like, "Because this is our trick questions."
Yeah.
It's weird, yeah.
So again, I'd call that's sort of the drill and kill style. There's something inauthentic about it. It's like
Okay.
she's learning how to take tests.
Yeah.
And so that's, which is a, you know, I mean,
It's
I
a
guess
skill. It's a
in our day
skill.
and age is a
Yeah,
skill that
it's
you
a
need to
skill.
have, but it's
One
also
of, yeah.
like, you know, it's not really practical, organic stuff that she's actually going to use, you know, on a day-to-day
Agreed.
basis.
Yeah.
It's not going to help her that much in college.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
so, you know, for sure, I understand there's a lot of frustration. I think that a lot of people, and I had this kind of epiphany when I was doing my graduate program, is I think that there's a tendency. You have experience teaching in
Yeah.
Taiwan, you
Yes.
know, and a lot of people have taught in Taiwan, even if they, you know, aren't teachers or in education anymore.
Yeah.
To sort of, you know, just criticize how English is
Sure.
taught in Taiwan.
Of course.
And I think that there's a lot of validity there, absolutely. But you know, Taiwan also has this really tremendous education culture that
Yes.
really lends itself to, you know, to learning and making sure that students are supported and, you know, competitive and successful as students. And so I do think that it's important to kind of acknowledge it's not all negative and it's not all bad.
Yeah,
I don't want to just like bag on
No,
you know, English
gotcha.
learning in Taiwan, but you know, I definitely understand. I've heard from a number of parents who are frustrated with, you know,
Yeah.
sort of, especially, you know, parent. You know, I have a son, you know,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people who have mixed kids, and it's like this isn't really, you know, practical.
I think the system is a little bit tougher for a mixed kid because, like, my daughter goes, like, all her education is all local school, but with me, she you know, she speaks English, and her mindset's very different than kind of, you know, like a local kid. And so, yeah, I think she's yeah, we're definitely looking at, you know, different options. There's, of course, international schools and stuff, which are nice. They're expensive, though.
Yeah, very,
right, very
very.
expensive.
They can be, yeah.
And so, yeah, we're looking at different options, and it looks like we're gonna try a year of kind of like a half online, like, you know, like not really a home school, but like a half online home thing.
Yeah.
And then like a half still going to the regular school where mosquito. She
to
will
Taiwan.
welcome to Taiwan. Like, she will still go there for like the math and the Chinese and that sort of thing. Because that stuff, when my wife and her do that together, they just argue.
Yeah.
And I can't do that with her. My math is horrible.
Right.
So yeah. So but like,
But I teach English.
there you go. Yeah. So like the English and like history, science stuff. That stuff is can be made fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what we will do. So that's, yeah. Actually, this month I'm applying. I have my sort of application all filled out, and I've just got to translate it. And so it's the first time we're going to try that. But we thought we just finished a year, and she likes it because she's social and she's having fun and stuff. But it's a long day.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
a 14-hour day or something.
That's rough.
Which is crazy. And she's 13.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm actually
tough.
giving a seminar this Saturday about overscheduling students.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
that'll be a fun talk.
What-
Talk about that too.
When I used to coach, I'd coach on, like, let's say it'd be a Saturday, 2 p.m. You know, kids would come in, and there'd always be some kids that are just like, they're so
they're beat to
exhausted.
hell. Yeah, they've been-
And I'm like, what's going on with you, man? We haven't even warmed up. We got nothing. How are you tired? And just go, because I had to get up and do English, and then I had to do piano, and then I had to
Yeah.
do violin,
Yeah,
and then I do this. Now I'm doing soccer, and then I've got to go do I don't know, whatever, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're just, I'm like, do you like any of those? And they're just like, no.
Not
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even that, like, does not compute. Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean, do I like it?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just what it is. Yeah.
It's just, it is
So,
what it is, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I know that I realize that some people cannot take their kid with them to work and stuff like that, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I don't want to again bag on that, because but for me, I can do that. Like, we open at like 12ish, and I don't have to be here at that time. So like the mornings, I can spend that with my daughter. That's usually like my own personal time, because I drop her off at school, then I'll go exercise, then I'll do my, prepping for the podcast,
Right.
or my marketing stuff, or any of that stuff. But I can carve that out for her for a while, until she's able to be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
More self-sustained. Because I noticed that after she went to public school, she would she's kind of just waiting for instructions. She's waiting for the teacher to tell her what to do. But before she went, even though she was way younger, I'd be like, figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Figure it out. So that's kind of what I want with her. So, but again, still need to keep the Chinese, still need to keep the
For
math
sure.
because those two,
Yeah.
no chance.
Yeah, and I mean, Taiwanese students rock at math compared to
Yes,
kids from
exactly.
the U.S. It's like they are better at it here. So
I love the memes. You'll see memes about the math world championships, and it'll be like Team USA, and it's all Asian
all
kids.
Asian kids, yeah,
And Team China, all Asian kids, and then Team Europe, and it's all Asian kids.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
So stuff like math and that. Actually, my wife is good at that, so she could help with that. But I think she still have the social aspect. She'll still have all her friends and stuff. So that's kind of what we're leaning towards. I got to finish my application this week, so yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Good luck.
I appreciate it. Yeah, maybe we'll go and see you though, because that'll be fun. Yeah,
Come by, take a look. Have a chat with us and see what the school's like. I think she'd enjoy some of those classes, and we could probably work something out.
Yeah, because I think she really likes. She likes the English stuff more. I think because she's usually with me, and it's easier, and I want to say it's easy. It's easier for her because it's natural. Like she's always. We go watch movies. It's in English.
She's
Everything's
good at
in
it.
English. Yeah, she's good at
Yeah.
it. So yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty good. She's gonna love that. So
Cool.
I'm a little bit nervous to having to do all that. That big. It's a big responsibility, but I've taught. I always tell myself I taught so many kids in Taiwan, and to this day now, they still come and visit me, and they had like a really good impact on these kids.
Yeah.
And for me to not do that with my own kid is crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll fight with her more.
For sure, I will. Yeah, for sure.
But like, the longer I teach and
Yeah.
and the more I work with other teachers and stuff like that, I realize just like how important good vibes are
Yeah.
in education. It's like if students are enjoying it and they're like happy to be there, and
Yeah.
it's like sort of creating a kind of repertoire with kids is so important, because if you don't have it, then they're not going to learn anything.
I can remember the handful of teachers that I had that had good vibes in the class. Till now, I'm in my 40s, and I remember those, the 2 or 3 teachers that were good. And for me, for a lot of the kids that I taught here, that was me, right? I have kids that come here that I taught kindergarten to like 20 years ago that are inviting me to their wedding.
Awesome.
It's amazing. I love it.
For sure.
I come in and I'm almost like crying that I get these kids come in, and I look at them and I'm like, who is that? And then I see the parents come in, and the parents look the same, just a bit older.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, these are the kids that I taught, and they were some of the ones that I really had a good connection with. So it's cool, man.
Yeah.
And they, like, I had these 2 boys that I taught. All the stuff that I was into when I was in my 23, 24, they're still into that now, because when I taught them, I was into like Han Solo and Spider-Man and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, they come in and they're totally like, they're talking about it. They love it. It's crazy.
Well,
big impact, right?
And that's the thing with like English education is the way that we sort of silo, especially like literature or English or writing into a separate subject. It's like no, like you need like reading in math class, right? Like if you can't read, you can't do math.
Yeah.
And so and that's why I started Taipei Teen Tribune. It was like,
Love that.
Learning how to, like, English is a tool for navigating the stuff that you enjoy doing. So, I think that's, you getting kids interested in, a new Star Wars or whatever else.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever it is, just, find whatever you're interested in and go from there.
And I mean, those kids are, mid-20s now, and they're still loving the things that we did. I remember
Hell yeah.
bits of my kindergarten, but these guys would tell me full stories of their kindergarten, and I'm like, "You were 5.
Yeah,
that was 20 years
That's
ago. You
awesome.
remember that?" And they're like, "Yeah, it was great."
That's awesome.
So
Well,
it's really cool. Yeah.
I mean, you ever want a job, you let me know.
All right, I
We'll
definitely
talk.
will. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think that, I want to give a little bit of that to my daughter as well, because I thought we're going to do the local school thing, because I think Chinese is quite difficult, right? So yeah, and it's going good. It's going good, but I feel like something's missing. So I want to try to. Yeah. And if it all goes to hell, then she'll just go back to local school next year full time, right?
What are your concerns? With her. Like, why don't you just let her do public school? Like, why? What is your What's your agenda there?
The hours are way too long.
Okay.
She doesn't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
Right. So she has too much homework.
Yeah.
Too long of hours, a lot of pressure on tests.
Yeah.
Right, and she deals with it well, and she's doing well, but then
Most kids do.
she'll come back with like a 20% on a test,
Yeah.
and she's like, yeah, I did what I could.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can I fault that? Like, you can't fault that, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, you got to try to, get 50 or something. And so she tries, and sometimes she'll get like 60, 70s, and sometimes she'll get like 18, 19.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't feel that it's effective.
Yeah.
It's not working. So, but again, like Chinese math, you gotta, those Taiwanese, they're specialists on that. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, I'm not gonna touch that.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if specialists, but way better than me.
Yeah, from you know, I mean, you sort of looking at things sort of like on a social level. Obviously Taiwan national scores in math are like really high,
Yeah.
compared to other countries around the world. But like
Yeah.
you're looking at it sort of, on an individual level with your daughter. It's like,
Yeah.
one of the things that I learned real early on was like, don't give kids tests that they're gonna fail. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, because usually if a kid is like failing a test, that's usually a sign that you screwed up as a teacher. Not that there's something wrong with the kid,
It's funny because my daughter, they had their first midterm, right? And she just started junior high. This was in September, October, and I don't know. There's like let's say 40 kids in the class, right? They bombed. Like 5 kids passed.
Right, yeah.
Everybody else tanked it.
Right.
Right. And then she wrote, because now everybody's in line groups and all that, right? So the line groups of the moms and the teachers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They basically, she's just not blasted them, but she's like, you guys need to do better. And all the parents are like, yeah, you got. And I'm thinking, if 95% of the kids failed,
Yeah, dude. Yeah. That's not.
that is it. Is it them?
No.
Is it them, or is it kind of you?
And
a little bit? Yeah.
that's very much a cultural thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, how education culture in Taiwan kind of operates is sort of
Yeah.
like an Occam's razor situation where
Gotcha.
it's like if the top 5 student, if only 5 kids are passing, well, it's like then they're the best students, and
Yeah.
everybody else just has to catch up, and it's we put this pressure on them, and that's good for them, and whatever else. But then it's also like, because that's so widely accepted in Taiwan, that's
Okay.
also like the number one reason why like parents and kids fight. Like kids don't really care
Yeah.
what like their teachers think of them or like
Sure.
but they're terrified of like failing a test because my mom's going to be screaming at me. She's going to be
That's the
disappointed
reason.
at me,
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the, I mean, I'm some white guy sort of, talking about Taiwanese culture, and I understand that that's not
I
the
get
best
it, yeah.
optics. But at the same time, it's like one of the biggest generator of conflict in families at home is pressure from school.
Yeah.
And they really need to address that. I think that it's a big problem.
I agree. Even with us, like my daughter's mixed, and I'm kind of like, just do your best, do what you can, study, whatever. But my wife is Taiwanese, and yeah, they'll have a go, right? And you were saying, I'm actually Mexican. I was born and raised in Canada, but my parents are Mexican. Everyone's Mexican down the line, and I'm just another white guy in Taiwan as well. So
Yeah. Somehow that works.
Here,
Yeah.
you're just white. You're just a white guy.
Yeah.
And I always tell people when I'm in Canada, I'm Mexican, and then when I'm in Mexico, I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
And then when I'm here, I'm just another white guy.
Yeah,
So it's
foreigner.
I'm just a white foreigner, man. Yeah. So I was mentioning like some of my kids, they invite me to their weddings and stuff like that. They send me pictures of their wife and then baby and stuff like that. And for me, I consider that successful.
Yeah.
So how about you with your school? Has there been? I was going through your website,
Yeah.
and I saw there's some pretty cool success stories on there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the most special thing is just lots of money. No.
Yeah. Okay. I did one interview once where that's what somebody said, and I was waiting for the punchline, and there wasn't one.
Yeah,
And I was
no.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, if I'm in education, I'm not really.
Yeah. I make tacos.
Yeah. Hey, somebody's gotta.
I got it. Yeah.
But we've been really lucky. We've had a few students who've gone on, to pretty good schools in the U.S. I don't want to like name drop.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But we've had some successful students matriculate at really, really good schools. But like more than that, I mean, I just really like looking at the Taipei Teen Tribune site and just, like some of these articles that these kids write, and some of them are fun. Some of them are like, here's, the review of, a movie, or, here are my
That's awesome.
favorite K-dramas on Netflix. And
Beautiful.
it's like,
Stuff that they like.
Yeah. They dig it. But then they'll also sort of be like, we have a problem in Taiwan with like how migrant workers are treated, and it's like,
Yeah.
and they like like I didn't tell a kid to write that. Like,
yeah.
she chose to write that article,
Wow.
and it's like, okay, let's, how do we break this down? How do we approach it? Like, where are you getting your information? And that's just such a rewarding process, because it's like you sort of see someone become like a human who cares, like
Yeah.
on a fundamental level. And so that's really been, I think, the most rewarding thing, like when you can get kids to be excited of their own volition and like
Yeah.
what they're learning, then I mean, not only is it like, did I do what I need to do, but it's really fun to watch.
It's also quite difficult, because if it's something that they like, then they'll do it all day. Like my daughter likes to draw, and she likes to draw stories, and bedtime. When she was little, you got a little one, right? Bedtime stories, and then so what we would always do is whatever book she was into or movie she was into, we would just instead of reading a book, we'd kind of like make a story, and then she'd be kind of like dropping in dialogue and stuff like that. So she'd be in bed, like kind of like.
Yeah.
But she's like, oh, but he was still on the mountain, and what happened next,
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's great.
Yeah, that's learning. That's school needs more of that energy.
And fun.
Yeah.
And fun. And I think that, kids, like I said, so that's one of the reasons I think my daughter, we're going to try something a little bit different. And we'll see how it goes. I'm excited. Like you were saying earlier, just to finish that, long hours, too much homework, way too much pressure, almost no free time, not enough sleep. And there's not enough sleep when you're a kid. Thank you. When you're young, you need your sleep, man. Well, it's crazy.
I mean, and like I don't want to get like too spicy, but
no,
like
sure.
Some of it's like with how competitive things are, and with how much homework and studying and pressure kids or schools are putting on kids, it's like, that's kind of child abuse. You know what I mean?
I agree.
They are physically experiencing harm because they are not getting enough sleep, and then when they're like tired and they struggle and they have a bad attitude, then like adults are like yelling at them.
Like, what's your problem?
And it's
well,
like,
I slept like 6 hours and I'm 12.
Like, it's something that I think nationally, and not just Taiwan, but obviously like East Asia, it's very much an issue, and I think that they really need to address it, because you're going to have some pretty negative effects from it.
I think eventually they will address it, but maybe for your little one.
I hope so.
For mine, she's already gone through half the system. So I said, like I said, we're gonna give it a shot, and we'll see how that goes. I'm excited for that, man. Yeah, and so critical thinking is something that seems to be kind of, I don't want to say it's missing, but it's lacking sometimes, right? So maybe tell me what your opinion on that is.
Yeah. So I mean, my sort of mantra at my school is just writing is thinking, right? And what I tell kids is, like, they're like, well, what does that mean? And it's like, well, you think all the time, obviously, but like when you are writing, like you have to take those thoughts that are kind of going on in your head, and you have to crystallize them, somewhere where they're solid, where you can read them, and then where other people can read them. And then the objective of that process is to put those thoughts that have become writing into other people's heads, so they become their thoughts, right?
Okay.
So when I say writing is thinking, that's kind of the process for what I'm talking about. And so
plant that seed, right?
And,
thing.
And so critical thinking really is just kind of a buzzwordy way of saying, really kind of appreciating your own thoughts and paying attention to like what you're saying. And what writing practice does, I have learned, and obviously reading, and this isn't just true of writing, but it really sort of sharpens people's ability to process their thoughts in a efficient and sort of consumable way, right? Because you're not writing a journal over here. You're writing, I want you to tell me why you think this is true, and then I'm going to fight you on it, And so then they're sort of like, oh, I got to really like, kind of, figure out how I'm going to say this so I can be convincing or whatever else.
I remember when I was younger, and you'd have some kind of like a writing assignment, and it would be like 2,000 words. You have to do 2,000 words.
Huge waste of time.
And I'm just like, oh, I like it very, 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 I don't know what to, because you can't. So tell me about that, because I don't know if that's still a thing.
Dude,
is it?
Every day.
Okay.
We get parents, and I don't. I have a great staff who handles a lot of
Gotcha.
the intake and parents. But we get
Yeah.
parents, when they send their kids to these private schools and they're like, my son is going to be in your most advanced class.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he can write 10 pages and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, that's going to be 10 pages of hot garbage, right? Like,
For sure.
Because he's
It's fluff.
12, right?
Yeah.
And so what we do is we really start sort of at the junior high level. We really focus on paragraph structure.
Okay,
And sort of
gotcha.
what's a topic sentence? Like, why do we have supporting details? What are some different ways of doing supporting details? How do we
Okay,
wrap this
okay.
up? Like, how do we develop unity and cohesion, right?
Okay,
And
okay.
we say unity and cohesion in your writing, but again, like writing is thinking. How do you develop cohesion in your thoughts?
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that's sort of where we start, and then we move on to. I
Okay.
developed a system I call it the simple persuasive essay, not to get too wonky.
Yeah.
It comes from the Jane Schaefer method that I actually learned when I was in high school in California.
Beautiful.
And it sort of breaks down each sentence of an essay into like having a purpose. And
Okay,
so
nice.
So I've developed this it's 16 sentences. It's super short. But it kind of works like a puzzle. It's like, how do you organize your thoughts like in a how do you structure your thoughts? Here's a way to structure them. Can you get your thoughts to fit a structure?
Okay.
And so we get kids to learn that, and then it's not always my favorite thing that we do, but then I'm like, okay, you learned all these rules, now forget those rules, right?
Yeah,
And
okay.
or it's like now you have to apply them differently for like, a regular essay. So, and then from there, it's not so much about like, once kids get the idea of like what structure means,
Yeah.
developing that more just means like playing around with ideas more
Okay.
and writing either essays or articles or learning how to do research papers or stuff like that. And from there, they really sort of grow into, again, not just solid writers who can
Yeah.
publish something on that Type 18 Tribune website.
Okay.
Which
That's
is
awesome.
Like
That's
some of those articles,
really
I'm
cool.
like,
Yeah.
and there was when I was their age, no way was
Oh,
I
God,
writing
me
anything.
neither.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like not even close. Like they can write at such a high level that it's just really impressive. And it's in their second language,
Which is amazing. Yeah.
Obviously, I'm the one who does the lion's share of the editing. Some of
Okay.
the students actually are editors, and the Type 18.
That's great.
Yeah. So they're like,
Yeah.
and they rock.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's just really impressive that do you imagine in a second language being able to write like
Oh,
a
God.
solid and like convincing and interesting to read essay? Like and there are a lot of people who can do it, but
Yeah.
like I'm just really impressed by my students sometimes.
I think that's like for me, I was raised in Canada and speaking English and stuff, but my family being Mexican spoke Spanish, and so I'm fluent in Spanish, but I don't think I can write a nice essay in Spanish.
Yeah.
For sure, I
Yeah,
cannot. It's not possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and that's the thing is like, I'm glad you said that because it really sort of encapsulates like the difference between sort of conversational communication
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now, which you're fluent, right?
Yeah,
You
for
do
sure.
that just fine. You go to Mexico or Spain
Yeah.
or wherever, and you're solid. But like, there's a difference between that and writing convincingly and sort of at a higher level.
Agreed.
And that's sort of what I feel like is missing in most, especially the public school programs.
Yeah.
Like you can get students to converse-ish
Yeah.
in English, but like being able to use it in kind of with any level of depth is just not really happening.
Even I've been here for a while, and with the restaurant, I do have to use Chinese a lot.
Yeah.
So my Chinese is pretty decent, I think. But again, I cannot read or write, and I can't have like a really super in-depth, meaningful. Like I couldn't write an article. It's
Yeah.
not possible.
No way. Yeah.
It's not
No
possible.
way.
I wouldn't even try.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. So I think that now, 2025. The rise of AI and all these crazy things popping up, ChatGPT and
Oh
Grok
boy,
and all
AI
that
conversation.
stuff.
I love this one.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Tell me about the AI.
I mean, so I get asked this question a lot.
Okay, I would imagine.
I think anybody who's a teacher,
Yeah.
especially like a high school teacher. Thank you.
It's okay, go.
Anybody who's a high school teacher who teaches writing or literature or anything like that is like, well, what about AI? And for me, that's usually a good barometer that someone doesn't understand education that
Okay,
well.
okay.
Not that I'm not saying that about you, hey, Eddie. You don't know
No,
what
it's
you're
cool.
talking about.
I want to bring it up because I'm sure that it's a topic that comes up a lot.
Yep.
And I mean, if I was in high school, and there was ChatGPT, I would have totally just used it
for sure.
and took like 50%
For
and
sure.
been super happy. But like,
Yeah.
tell me about that. I have no idea because it's a whole new world, kind of.
So my favorite education writer right now is a guy named John Warner, who he has a blog and he's written a couple of really good books, and he's written a lot about AI.
Okay.
And his, one thing that he said that I really like is AI and like students wanting to use AI instead of like doing the assignments themselves.
Yeah.
That says more about like how we structure education and how we structure like
Yeah,
writing
I
class and
agree.
stuff. That says more about that than it does about like AI or whether writing is useful, right?
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
So like,
I never thought of that actually.
and so I think that like what we want to do as educators is develop work that kind of like with Type 18 Tribune,
Yeah.
like students want to do it. Like if you're just doing it for busy work, then like what's the point, right?
I like the term busy work. Yeah.
And so it's like I want my students to write about stuff that they want to write about. Even the students who are, even if we're just doing sentences at the at the third grade level, it's like, obviously it's like we're going to read a story, but it's like, what do you think of this story? Do you like this story? And I love it when kids develop opinions. They're like, I hated this story. I thought it was dumb.
Yeah.
These characters aren't realistic. And it's like, nice. For be critical. Like
love it.
That's absolutely valid. And so getting people to like find value in the work that they do is really our job. And AI can't do that for you.
Agree.
So
I actually really like that what you were saying there because like let's say a kid likes Harry Potter, right? Like my daughter liked it a few years ago. She was all about Harry Potter and Hermione and all that stuff. So if I were to tell her write a story about Harry Potter or whatever, she would be like, this is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
She wouldn't be like, let me have ChatGPT do that for me because I don't want to do it. She'd be like, screw ChatGPT.
100%.
I love this. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, why
so that
would
makes sense.
Why would I let ChatGPT do this, right?
Do my fun stuff that I love,
and
right?
So like that's really where, because if kids like reading, they're gonna read, and then they're gonna get really good at it. If kids like writing stuff that they're interested in, they're gonna become good writers. And so like making like the job of educators now is really to make, and this is something that I wrote my final project for my master's program about was making it relevant to students and sort of like cultural relevance, culturally responsive. I mean, if education isn't relevant, then what's the point?
I agree, 100%. Like I'm thinking, those 12-hour days, 14 hours, blah, blah, blah. You're burning people out, you're burning kids out.
And how much of it is a waste of time?
Yeah. Right? And then, again, for me, when I would come home from school, what'd you learn today? I don't know.
Yeah,
what'd you do? Oh, but you know what? This kid likes this girl, and she likes him, and she rejected him, and this guy wanted to fight him. Like, she'll tell me all that stuff that she's like, this is great. But what she actually did in class, I did the same. My daughter's the same. Yeah. Crazy, man.
Gossip is one of the greatest teaching tools.
Right.
What are the cool kids in your class doing right now? Like, what's going on in class? I'm like, teacher, let me tell you, so-and-so is dating so-and-so.
And he likes her.
And but this other girl likes, it's just
so
like.
jealous.
And kids will just go, right? And it's like, yeah, write that.
That's it. Beautiful.
Write that. Just do that.
I love it. That's why K-dramas are killing it, right?
Oh, for sure.
We got actually a question here from Jeff Parks. What challenges do you face, and how do you handle students using AI to write?
So it's not. Thanks for the question, Mr. Parks. It's not as hard as people think to.
Okay.
One, it's pretty easy to spot when students are writing AI.
Yeah.
But then you'll sort of sometimes you get the students be like, I didn't use AI, and it's like, yeah, you did, and it's like he said, she said, right? And it's like, okay, well, let me get a notebook and a pencil, and I want you to write, like, you don't have to write it word for word, but write that paragraph again, but just with a pen and pencil. Like, can you produce, something of a similar level about the same topic, right?
Yeah.
And usually at that point, students are like, okay, so and obviously, like, I don't want to. We have a whole policy with it, and it's like, on paper, we're like, this is very big no-no, and don't ever do that or whatever else. But students still do it, and it's like we don't want to like bring down the hammer, on every student who does it.
Of course, yeah.
But it also that brings it up as a good conversation. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like, if you're using AI, like, you don't have to come here. Like, my program is not it's not going on your college application.
Gotcha.
You're not getting a grade on it. We don't really do grades.
That's so good.
And so it's like, like what are you doing if you're using AI? Like just tell your mom you don't want to come here. I'll call your mom and tell her you don't want to come here.
Yeah.
So that's really our approach. It's obviously a lot more difficult for people who are in like public teachers who have 30 kids in a class and they've got, they can't kick kids out of their program or whatever else.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely different. But what I've, from obviously I have a lot of friends who are in public schools, back in the States and here.
Yeah.
And, like I said, use it as an opportunity to have that conversation because it's like, yeah, you have to be in writing class. Yeah, you have to be here. But like, you're just going to get in trouble for cheating if you are using AI. It's pretty clear that you're using it.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you think this is worthwhile? Why don't you think that this is worth the time to put the work in and to, try to have fun with it? Like, why aren't you doing that? And I think that to the degree that it's possible, if you can have that conversation, that's how I approach it.
I think that's great because like you were saying, if they actually like something, then it's a pleasure to do, right? Yeah, like again, this podcast, I'm having a great conversation. I'm loving this, especially at this time where we're debating what to do with the local school and my daughter and stuff. And that was actually how I found you. I think Elias posted something about you, and then I was like, oh, I checked out the Type 18
Shout out
Tribune.
Elias Eck. He's the guy.
Shout out to Elias, right?
He's the guy.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And I saw the Type 18 Tribune, and I thought, oh, that's crazy. That's so good, right? And then I kind of dove deep, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna see if I can get you out here and share your story because it's beautiful.
Glad you did.
I love that, man. Appreciate it. So you're staying in Taiwan. You're permanent. You're good.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
What are you thinking?
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah?
I mean,
far?
My wife is Taiwanese.
Yeah.
I'll always have, part of me will always be here. My son's half Taiwanese, and so, and I have no plans of shutting down my school or my business or anything else. So sure, we'll call it that. Sorry, did you finish your question?
No. So I'm saying like that you're settled in Taiwan. You don't want to go back. Any thoughts of ever going back to the States?
Oh yeah, for sure. I obviously my family's all in California. And sort of like you're dealing with, I don't want my son to go. I don't want to put him through public school, and I also don't want to spend Harvard money for a high school that I went to for free. Like a comparable level, and so. I'm thinking I would like him to go to school in California, and I know some people right now with the political situation. Why would you leave Taiwan to go back to the U.S.? And I get it, but I really do have a problem with. I don't want him ranked against other 7-year-olds. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Like that. There's
I
just
know exactly what you
there's
mean.
so much evidence that's. And when I say evidence, I'm not talking like anecdotal.
It can never be good.
Actual research of really qualified people who are like, this is a bad idea,
Yeah.
and they do it all over the world. And so it's like I just don't have any interest in subjecting my son to that. So, we'll see. But I think that's a really big motivating factor for why I might leave Taiwan.
Okay. Actually, the reason I asked that was because a lot of the people that I know, they love Taiwan and they never want to leave.
Love it.
But as soon as they have kids, then they're like, well, I taught.
Yeah.
Well, I know the education system.
Yeah.
Even the Taiwanese.
Yeah.
They're also like, it was pretty rough. It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
So then, if they have that shot, then they, unless, if there's, a big bank account somewhere fitting the bill for an international school, that's probably okay. But a lot of them are like, we're going to go back to my hometown and, have the kids go with us, right? So they go back for the kids.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other things too, like sports. Like I grew up doing different sports and I loved it. And it's just not. They might have like practice for an hour a week on Sunday, and it's like it's an afterthought where I kind of want it to be a part of his life. And then obviously family and all that stuff.
The family part is tough. Sports are doable here, but it's definitely different culture-wise for sure. I remember we went to go and watch my daughter was playing basketball, and it was just like kind of like the class. It was grade 6. The grade 6 classes have a tournament. So we'd go to watch, And I don't want to say, bad, but it was pretty like nobody knew how to do anything.
Yeah,
There was this skill was like, I was kind of shocked.
Yeah.
I was like, the nobody jumped when they shot.
Yeah.
Nobody knew how to dribble.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of like shocked. And my daughter she's like, yeah, I'm really good.
She's
I'm
out there
really,
crushing it, and you're like, you're not that good.
Yeah, and she's like, she's loving. She's like, this is so good, and I'm watching. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not great. It's not great. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, and it was for fun. I get it.
Sure.
But I was like, okay, wow.
Well, I mean, and so like
The
I said,
basics are not even there.
it's an afterthought, right? That's nothing to do with the kids. It's like they just don't get enough time to do it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want that. I don't want him to be doing homework until 9 p.m. when he's 8 years old. I want him to go play
Midterms
sports.
in grade 1. In grade 1. Yeah, I went through that.
Yeah,
And I thought we'll do elementary, and then it was she's okay, and then she wanted to try, and we were looking at the homeschool half thing last year, and then she's like, let's go try it out.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? And I'm like, this kid,
Yeah.
I'm like, you're so smart, damn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and everybody thinks their kid is smart, but my kid has just been.
Not
she grew
me.
up in her. She grew up.
I'm not sure. He's the brightest.
Yeah.
On the box.
but I mean, she grew up in a restaurant, so she sees, people come in, and she sees like really well behaved kids, and she sees like shittily behaved kids, and she sees, respected professors getting drunk at the bar. Like she sees a lot of stuff. So she's kind of seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's kind of mellowed her out to be like, it's not the end of the world if you fail a test in grade 5.
That's.
And I'm like, I know, but you're really not supposed to know that yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
you should get a little pressure.
I'm like, you should get a little bit.
Yeah.
So junior high has been rough. I mean, again, she's liking it, but yeah, she's looking forward to kind of like something different, like a half. She wants to go back again, Chinese math for sure, but the other stuff, I think we can take care of that. Yeah, for sure, bro.
I think you can.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I'll be calling you. I'll be like, what do I do?
I'm sure we'll have some more conversations.
Yes, for sure. And so if someone says, my kid is a good writer or good writing, what does that mean, like to you, to someone who's actually a teacher of writing? Oh.
So sorry. Do you mean
like the term good writing? What does the term good writing mean to you?
Okay, so if I think that a student is a strong writer, there are 5 criteria that I sort of and I don't really grade on. The first thing I'm looking at is like mechanics, things like spelling and grammar and all that stuff.
Sure.
And that stuff can be really annoying because English, is
it's tough sometimes.
absurd.
The grammar is tough.
English grammar is very dumb. Like having done Chinese a little bit and talking to people who are fluent in other languages, they're like, oh yeah, it's a hot mess.
Yeah.
And so I get it why it's annoying, but it's also sort of like air. It's like if it's not there, it's the only thing you notice. So you have to you just have to. The next thing I look at is structure. Is there unity? Is there cohesion? Does this idea lead into that idea, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Then I'm looking for clarity. Do I understand it? Like, can I read it? Does it make sense to me on just... And what I really want students to do, and one area that I really run into a lot of problems with, especially parents, is they think that good writing means like really big, flowery vocab words and
like dictionary style.
Yeah, or like everybody's trying to write like a textbook, and it's like, have you ever really enjoyed reading a textbook?
Of course, definitely not.
Right. So then why are people trying to write like it? Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And so it's like what I try to tell students to do is you want people to kind of forget their reading when they're reading your work.
You're like playing a movie in your head while you read.
It's like you want to do all of the thinking up front, so the reader has to do less of it, so they can just engage your ideas.
Okay.
Right? So that's when I say clarity, that's what I mean.
Beautiful.
The next step is reasoning. Like, is it is there sort of a syllogistic kind of pathway here? Is it, can you get from A to B to C? Does it make sense? And are you correct, right? Like, is your argument or is your explanation, are you right about what you're saying? And then the last thing, and the hardest one for everyone in the world, is engagement. Is it interesting to read? Do I have fun with it? Does it make me mad? Does it make me sad? Do I feel something?
Yeah.
And so that's really kind of the top of the pyramid there.
Okay.
But when I'm looking for a good writer, I want to see those 5 things in something that they're doing.
That's wow. That's really cool, man. Yeah, I don't have many more questions, but I do have one more. So usually I'll interview like different kinds of entrepreneurs, right? And so you went from the teaching, and then you did your kind of your Saturday thing, right? And then you went to now you're like the business. You have your own business. So has there been any kind of like tell me a little bit about that story? Like it's obviously it's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
Changing from teacher to business owner.
I mean, like I said, it was, pretty stressful at first. Before I opened the school, I had a job. I was actually doing marketing at a software company.
Okay.
Doing like content writing for them, and that was great. And then I had kind of my second paycheck from my Saturday freelance stuff that I was doing.
Yep.
And so I was feeling like, financially, I'm, in a pretty good
Living
spot.
large, baby.
So let's start my own school and really, like do whatever. And then it was just like, oh, you're poor and you're working like 7 days a week,
Go from 9 to 5 to 24/7, right?
which is like the oldest story. Like everybody
For
who
sure.
started a business is like, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm a great chef. I'm gonna open a restaurant.
Yeah, and so that's where I was for the first 2 years. But then like I said, it's we brought on some really good staff. My academic director is I don't know how she's not working for the NSA. Her mind's like a vault.
Wow.
Like I said, my wife came on and really sort of handles a lot of the business stuff and kind of helps direct our content strategy. We have, and just the teachers that I have, shout out to my coworkers are just really, everybody brings something different to the table.
Nice.
And so you have like kind of that diversity of style and approach.
Beautiful.
And so it started really hard, and it's still really hard.
Yeah, it
But-
doesn't get that much easier, but it does.
But
get easier.
it's a more comfortable difficult, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And you
100% makes sense to me. Yeah.
I enjoy it a lot.
Okay, I think that's important, right? Like, I know a lot of people that they make pretty good money, but they go to a job that they don't really like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, then they're always like, I got to open my own thing. I want to be like you and do my own thing. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Sometimes there's no money, and they're just like, what do you mean? You're always full. Like, well, if you come on Saturday night, but if you come on Tuesday night, it's different.
What's Scott Galloway?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but he's like, don't follow your passion. Like,
Yeah.
follow your talent. Like, what are you good at? And
Yeah.
And is it, both of my parents are my mom, my stepdad, and even my biological father, grandparents. Teaching is sort of in the blood, and it's
Oh,
like
wow.
I grew up
Okay.
around it.
Gotcha.
And it's like, I went to grad school originally, and I'm like, maybe I'll do the State Department or something like that.
Gotcha.
And it's like, I really am, I think education is a good fit for me in a lot of ways.
Good. Yeah.
And so I think that if you're, obviously teaching's not for everybody and education's not for everybody, but I think that if you enjoy books and you enjoy reading and you enjoy, lording it over kids, how smart you are sometimes, then it can be a really rewarding thing to do. And I feel really successful in that vein.
I love it, man. Appreciate it. Do you have it? So if you guys are curious, we've got the links for Adam's LinkedIn, also English.com. We've got it down in the description below. Is there anything else you want to add, man, before we call it? Time flies when we do these. It's been like an hour already. It's crazy.
Yeah, wow, that was fast.
Yeah.
No, just I appreciate you having me up here, letting me introduce, my program, just sort of the importance, of getting people to write and to think critically and to think deeper and to engage ideas that you find interesting. And if you're a parent and you're worried about how to get your kids reading, just whatever they want to read, let them read it.
Something they like.
If you make things relevant, make things authentic, don't force it, don't drill and kill, and try to let your kids have a childhood. That's not it's not like you're on pause before life happens. It's like that's part of life too. And so, I think that it's, if I could just reiterate some of those things, that's, I guess, what I'd like to sort of finish with.
Beautiful, man. Man, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out Adam on LinkedIn. Don't forget to check out English.com. Links are below. We actually have Instagram and stuff. We'll add all that stuff down below. Get in touch with this man. Get your kids learning some fun English here.
Thanks very much, Eddie. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you everybody for watching Eddie's show. We feel only happiness, don't feel any sorrow. Welcome everybody to watch more on his content. Eddie Live Podcast. Eddie Live Podcast.